Kyle Watson, a seasoned paranormal investigator, reclined in his study as rain tapped against the window. In his hands lay a tattered map of the Black Forest, sent by an anonymous source. Circled on the map was a segment marked Einheitdorf, a village that should not exist according to conventional maps. Its legend whispered of horrifying apparitions and eldritch chants that echoed under the full moon. Kyle's interest peaked when he flipped to the accompanying note. "Come alone if you seek the truth." Determined not to heed the note's ominous warning, Kyle called upon his trusted team Maria, an empath attuned to realms unseen, and Nathan, a skeptical tech expert grounded in reality. Their goal was to document the phenomenon and reveal any hoaxes. Excitement buzzed between them as they meticulously planned the expedition. Weeks later, they arrived at the forest's edge just as twilight descended. The air smelled of pine and earth, crisp with anticipation. Under the moon's tender glow, they set foot on the muddy trail leading into the enigmatic depths, unaware of the secrets that would soon unravel their understanding of the world. The deeper they ventured, the more the forest felt strangely animate. Every crackle of twigs underscored their presence, as if alerting hidden specters who watched from the dark. Nathan tried to rationalize the echoes of their footfalls as mere acoustics, yet Maria sensed something else. A pulse, a rhythm humming through the roots, as alive as any heartbeat. At nightfall, they reached a clearing bathed in silver moonlight. Before them, an ethereal glow flickered to life, forming the shapes of a village. The investigators exchanged nervous glances, doubt mingling with intrigue. The spectral lights cast shadows that danced like spirits reborn, and a low chant began to resonate through the air, a rhythmic hymn of voices long silenced. Maria's eyes widened, seeing not only the ghostly luminescence, but also feeling the surge of ancestral energy that swept through the clearing. Tendrils of fear crept into their minds, taking root as the ancient ritual replayed before them. They stood awestruck, caught between flight and the insatiable need to unearth the village's secrets. Lost in their surreal tableau, the group dared to approach further into the heart of the phantom village. The chants grew louder, adopting an unsettling cadence that pressed against their minds. Nathan's usually confident logic faltered, fractured by the sights and sounds that defied all reason. The village came into sharper focus as they moved deeper. Old timber huts, their structures impossibly preserved, lined the shadowed paths. Maria laid her hand on the ghostly walls, her senses overwhelmed by a flood of emotions. A tapestry of hope, despair, celebration, and mourning, left by those who were long gone. It felt as though the village itself were breathing. Amidst their exploration, they discovered an altar, weathered by time yet shrouded in a palpable malevolence. Streaks of a dark, crusted substance adorned its surface, each marking a whisper of ancient sacrifices. Here, the air felt heavier and colder, drawing the scent of dread into their lungs with every breath. The group instinctively recoiled from its presence, yet felt an unyielding pull to uncover its meaning. Amidst the village's spectral serenity, the atmosphere shifted, a creeping sensation that pulled at the edges of their sanity. The air was electric, charged with tension, as if the forest itself were holding its breath. Maria trembled, sensing an entity not of this world, something vast and incomprehensible. Suddenly, the chants crescendoed into a terrifying chorus, each voice weaving together a tapestry of horror. Kyle, struggling against the surge of sensory overload, directed the team to retreat to the village's periphery. Yet curiosity gnawed at them, a compulsion to delve deeper into the mysteries calling from the void. As they stepped back, an oppressive force swept through the clearing, knocking the breath from their lungs. The forest, no longer passive, shifted around them, a labyrinth of shadow and fog, pulling them ever deeper into its grasp. Panic threatened to break Maria, her empathy flooded by echoes of lost souls crying out for salvation. Retreating back through the woodland maze, Kyle clutched a fragment of the altar they had pried loose, a piece of history, or perhaps a talisman. Yet, as they withdrew, the forest seemed to close in, every creak of wood and rustle of leaves whispering dark secrets, the desperate calls of the land, yearning for remembrance. Through the shifting shadows, Maria stumbled upon a journal. Its pages were brittle, filled with incomprehensible inscriptions and sketches of arcane rituals, a chronicle of Einheit Dorf's descent into darkness. Her heart pounded, overwhelmed by a chilling stream of emotions that tumbled from the pages, each echo of ink pulling at the corners of her mind. The cries from the forest crescendoed into a cacophony as they neared the perimeter. Nathan, driven by dread cloaked in logic, began to disassemble his equipment, convinced that nothing rational could explain the spectral phenomena that unfolded that night. Even with every shred of evidence uncovered, unease clung to them like a second skin, an unshakable recognition of what they had witnessed. Back at camp, tension crackled between the trio. The weight of their discoveries pressed upon them, a macabre reality far removed from urban legends. Kyle, transfixed by the altar fragment he carried, felt it pulse insistently in his hand, resonating with a desire to be known. As they reviewed Maria's journal, the connection between its chilling rituals and the village's fate became apparent. It detailed the summoning of an ancient force, a dark entity whose essence lingered within the forest. The village's disappearance was not a tragedy of time, but a sacrificial act, an eternal offering to this eldritch presence. Sleepless nights and persistent whispers haunted them, as if Einheit Dorf had opened a door in their minds that could never close. Kyle, drawn deeper into the mystery, sensed they were on the brink of unveiling a deeper truth, one that connected the forest's past with their own fragile reality. As the dawn of their final night approached, Kyle devised a plan to confront the spectral force tethered to the village. They would return to the altar and perform a severance ritual, hoping to release Einheitdorf from its cursed existence. Despite Nathan's protests and Maria's palpable fear, determination blazed in Kyle's eyes. They prepared meticulously, imbuing the night with whispered incantations and sigils scrawled onto the earth. The forest responded, its shadows twisting into menacing shapes, mist curling closer, thicker than before. As the moon ascended, Maria felt the presence of bygone souls surge around them, an audience unseen, waiting. On the altar, Kyle placed the fragment and began to chant. The air grew dense with expectation, as if the trees themselves held their breath. Nathan's camera flickered erratically, disrupted by forces beyond his understanding. In the forest's heart, a cacophony of cries welled. The villagers lost voices, joining their leader's plea for release. The ritual ignited a tempest of supernatural energy, swirling around them with visceral intensity. Nathan, caught in the maelstrom, felt the camera yanked from his grip by invisible hands as images danced violently across the lens. Maria sensed both dread and longing, the village's spirits yearning for release, yet constrained by unseen bindings. Kyle's chanting intensified, the air flashing with unearthly lights that flickered like spectral flames. The ground trembled beneath their feet, the forest's voice crescendoing in a haunting symphony of despair. A figure, a phantasmagorical vision of the village's elder, emerged from the shadows, pleading silently before dissolving into mist. In a crescendo of horror, the energy reached its peak, overwhelming their senses. A shattering roar ripped through the night as the altar exploded into a blinding flash of light. When the smoke cleared, the forest murmured in solemn reprieve. Einheitdorf was gone, its tragic tale buried once more beneath the earth and trees. As dawn broke, silence consumed the forest, a heavy, sacred silence, resonant with untold stories. The investigators stood amid the remnants of their ritual, the air cleansed yet charged with the profound absence of the village. Kyle, holding the journal and altar fragment, felt a bittersweet victory tempered with solemn understanding. Returning to their camp, they gathered their scattered equipment, casting thoughtful glances at the forest now rendered just as mysterious as before. Nathan struggled between disbelief and awe, unable to reconcile the ethereal occurrences with his steadfast skepticism. As they departed the forest's embrace, Maria lingered for a moment, feeling the peaceful sigh of the earth as Einheitdorf's legacy settled into the annals of memory. Beyond the edge of visible reality, she sensed the village's spirits gently murmuring their gratitude, freed at last from the haunting mirage that had bound them for centuries. The journey back was marked by thoughtful silence as reality settled around them. Kyle cradled the altar fragment and journal, artifacts that whispered of Einheitdorf's dark history, entwined with the forest's magic. both a caution and a revelation of otherworldly existence. Days later, back in the comfort of their study, the investigators reflected on their harrowing encounter. They questioned what may now haunt the Black Forest, and whether other lost places remained hidden across the world, holding similar tales of terror that begged for revelation. The allure of Einheitdorf's shadows persisted in their dreams. The forest's breath, the village's chants, and the ritual's fiery release echoed within, an enigmatic reminder of the horrors that slumber beneath the surface of the world. They vowed to continue uncovering such mysteries, driven by an unyielding curiosity bound to the supernatural unknown.